Hello everyone. As you can see on the screen, yesterday Education Ministry cancelled UGC NET paper due to paper leak. Everyone condemned agencies and system for this incident, and this is not at all acceptable, and government needs to take a strict action against all those parties who are involved in this crime. I am also very disappointed to see the suffering of students because it is happening again and again. I'm not going to talk much on this particular topic because you are over flooded with this kind of content, with this kind of videos at all different platforms. And I can feel your anxiety and your frustration. But today we are going to discuss a theory that is closely associated to this particular incident. After receiving news that exam got cancelled, many individuals feel frustrated, sadness, hopelessness, and anger too. There are one theory in psychology that explaining why a person developing and presenting aggression. Yes, we are discussing about frustration aggression hypothesis. We are going to talk about frustration aggression hypothesis. The frustration aggression hypothesis is a theory in psychology that explains how frustration can lead to aggressive behavior. And this theory is presented by John Dollard, Neal Miller, and one more name that we are associating, that is Leonard Doob. And this particular theory came in 1939. This particular theory came in 1939. So in 1939, John Dollard, Leonard Doob, and Neal Miller tried to explain us that why frustration leading to aggression, right? What is the reason behind aggressiveness, right? So there are mainly two important revisions. So many revision happened with this particular theory, frustration aggression hypothesis, but we will discuss about two major revision that happened. Revision number one, when we talk about the first revision, number one, that is presented by Neal Miller. So Neal Miller revised this particular theory in 1941, and when we talk about the second revision, so there are one name that is associated to it, that is Leonard Berkovich. Leonard Berkovich. And they presented this particular concept, that means they revised this particular concept in 1969. But one thing I would like to mention here, Leonard Berkovich presented and tested this particular theory multiple times, right? So in many texts you can find a specific year, that is 1989. So 1969 is correct and 1989 is also correct. So if you are finding 1969, sometime 1989, so don't be confused, right? So when we talk about frustration, right? So frustration occurs when a person is blocked from reaching a goal or completing a task. That means, what I mean to say, if you want to achieve something, if you want to reach somewhere, but just because of any reason, if we are not able to achieve those, if we are not able to reach at our goal, so there will be frustration. Like for example, we can take, this example. Students, including you, want to crack UGC NET JRF. Why? Just because to start your PhD or lecturership. But due to cancellation of exam, you are unable to start your journey. They can develop frustration. So that can lead to frustration. Why? Just because there are a specific goal and we are not able to achieve that particular goal, that can lead frustration. So there are two specific understanding of this particular theory. When we talk about this particular theory, so there are two popular explanation. One is presented by Dollard. So we will discuss about Dollard first, right? So this explanation is presented by Dollard. And second model is presented by Leonard. And full name of Leonard is Leonard Berkovich. So first of all, we will discuss about Dollard principle and then we will move with Leonard, right? So Dollard mentioning individual having a certain drive, right? We can say drive to goal. Individual having a certain goal. Individual want to achieve something, individual want to reach somewhere. If there will be any obstacle to receive that particular goal, to achieve that goal, to reach at that particular place, we can say if there are any obstacle to goal, so this could be a region of frustration. So there are a certain goal, individual having certain obstacles in any form, like individual doesn't having appropriate resource, individual doesn't having appropriate time, or other individual, right, creating hindrance, so individual is not able to achieve a certain goal, right? So if there are obstacle, individual will develop frustration, and this frustration leading to anger. Anger is physiological changes, internal physiological changes, maybe changes in gland, changes in neurotransmitter, any kind of internal changes that giving us right, subjective feeling of anger, we can associate to this particular level. So there are drive to goal, because of obstacles, individual is not able to achieving those, so there will be frustration can lead to anger, and just because of this anger, individual will present aggression in the form of yelling, in the form of shouting at individual. So this will be aggression. And if any individual presenting aggression, at the end there will be catharsis. There will be catharsis. There will be catharsis. So we will discuss about catharsis. What is it? Right? So when we talk about the catharsis is the release of built up emotional tension through aggressive action. Once aggression, as you can see here, once aggression is expressed, the individual may feel a sense of relief. So here you can see there will be drive, individual want to achieve somewhere. Just because of obstacle, they are unable to get those, unable to achieve those. So there will be frustration, individual will develop frustration that can lead to certain internal changes, we can call them anger, and those anger could be the reason of aggression. And if any individual, right, presenting aggression, they presented aggression, they showed their aggressiveness, right, aggression, so at the end they will develop or they will feel catharsis. So catharsis simply means whenever any individual presenting aggression, that individual may feel sense of relief. For example, we can take example, after expressing anger, the person might feel calmer and more relaxed. So suppose that you are having a goal, you want to do something, you are not able to do so just because of any obstacles, there will be frustration, then there will be subjective feeling, we can call them anger, just because of internal changes, and those internal changes will lead to aggression like yelling, shouting, and if we presented aggression, then there will be catharsis. But there are one more point that Dollard mentioning. When individual presenting anger, right, chances are there that they are not presenting aggression, they will move again toward frustration just because fear of punishment or just because they are getting punishment, right? They are getting punishment. What I mean to say, whenever individual having any goal, they are facing obstacles, they are having frustration, they are developing anger. But if they are getting punishment or they are having this particular thoughts that I will get punishment if I will present aggression, so they are not going to present aggression, they will be back, right, just because they have fear and they think they will get punishment, so they are developing more frustration. So when we talk about the punishment, if I mean to say, if the individual knows that aggressive behavior will lead to punishment, they might suppress the aggressive impulse. If they know I'm having anger, if I will present aggression, if I will, present, right, those kind of behavior like yelling, shouting, so maybe I will get punishment. So they will not present aggression. Instead, they will move to frustration. For example, we can take one example. A child might feel angry and frustrated, but they are aware that they will be punished, right, if they will hit their sibling or if they will shout at their sibling. So they choose not to act aggressively. So when any individual having anger and they know if I will present aggressive behavior. If I will behave aggressively, I will get punishment. In those particular situations, they are not presenting aggressiveness, they are coming back at the stage of frustration. So there are two pathways. Now, first pathway, drive, obstacle to goal, frustration, anger, aggression and catharsis. But sometimes it is also happening like individual having drive to goal, that means they have goal, then there are obstacle, then frustration, they are having anger, but they are having fear, they are having this sense that I will get punishment. In those particular situations, they are not presenting behavior aggressively, they are going back at the frustration level. Right? So this is a kind of concept that is presented by Dollard. Now we will discuss about Leonard Verkovich, what they said. Right? So when we talk about Leonard Verkovich, right, they are mentioning that in the beginning there will be goal. So in the beginning there are goal. In the beginning there are goal, right? If any individual having goal, but if there are obstacle, right? If there are obstacle, any kind of obstacle, that will lead to frustration. That will lead to frustration. That will lead to frustration, right? So if there are a specific goal and if individual having any kind of obstacles, so they will develop frustration. Frustration means blocking a goal. Just due to blocking a goal, just due to any kind of obstacle, individual will develop frustration. So goal is there and individual is not able to achieve their goal just because of any kind of obstacles, any kind of blocking of the goal, individual will develop frustration. And those frustration will increase arousal. Those frustration will increase arousal. Increase arousal. So if individual having frustration, so individual, right, will be aroused. There will be certain bodily changes. We can call them anger. We can call them anger. So there will be anger. But when we discuss about Leonard Verkovich, they are simply mentioning that just because individual having anger, they are not going to present aggressiveness. There are two different mean. That means if any individual having anger, right, then we have to understand that they are having Q or they don't have Q, right? So if Q, that means aggressive Q is present, individual will behave differently. If aggressive Q is not present, then individual will behave very differently. Like no Q, no aggressive Q, no Q, and there are Q. We can say there are aggressive Q. There are aggressive Q. There are Q. No Q and aggressive Q simply means individual having, suppose that anger, right? In those particular situation, if any individual having aggressive Q, like if individual having weapon, any kind of weapon, like gun, right? Weapon, any kind of gun. In those particular situation, chances will be higher to present aggressiveness, right? So chances will be higher, greater likelihood of aggression, greater likelihood of aggression, greater likelihood of aggression. But if any individual doesn't have these kind of Q, that means individual doesn't having any kind of weapon, so there will be less likelihood of aggression. So there will be less likelihood of aggression, less likelihood of aggression. Less likelihood of aggression. So what we mean to say, according to Leonard Verkovich, there will be goal. If I'm having a goal and there are obstacles, if I'm not able to achieve those, I'm not able to reach there, so there will be frustration. Those frustration can lead to arousal. There will be increased arousal. There will be certain bodily changes. And these bodily changes means anger, right? If these bodily changes is there, so these bodily changes is not going to decide individual's likelihood of aggression will be higher or lower. Basically, if any individual having anger, so they are mentioning like individual having aggressive Q or not. If they are having aggressive Q like weapon, then chances will become higher to present aggression, right? If any individual having anger and they don't have any cue, that means they don't have any weapon, then chances of present aggression will be lesser. There will be less likelihood of aggression. That means if individual is in arousal, if they are in anger, if they are having gun, then chances will be higher to present aggressiveness. If individual doesn't having any weapon like gun, so chances will be lower to present aggressiveness, right? So these are the difference between Dollard explanation of frustration aggression hypothesis and Leonard-Verkovich frustration aggression hypothesis. We can take few more examples to understand all these as a whole, right? According to aggression frustration hypothesis, if a player feels they were unfairly treated by a referee, they might argue or even fight. So at the time of game, if any player having this kind of thoughts that, okay, referee is unfair for me, they are having a particular goal, they are having a particular idea that I will play fairly or I will play well. But if referee is unfair, if they think referee is unfair, referee treating me unfairly, in those particular situations, they will start arguing or even fight, right? But when we talk about this example, that is not explainable by these particular concept that is presented by Leonard-Verkovich, right? These example is best suited for Dollard. The second one is also best suited for the Dollard, right? They are mentioning, like we can take this example, when you feel that you are doing hard work and you compromise so many things, including your health, to reach there to crack UGC NET exam, right? But if that particular exam is going to be cancelled, and agency cancelling them, just because their fault, just because of their failure, you will develop frustration and anger for that particular system, right? Now, this two example is best suited for Dollard. But according to this model, according to Leonard, what will happen? If any player having sense that this referee is unfair for me, in those particular situations, right, if they are having any weapon, or we can say cue, aggressive cue, they will be more aggressive. If they don't have any cue, they will be less aggressive. Like we can take example, if there are any anger, right, or individual developing anger at a public place for any individual, like person A having anger for person B. In those particular situations, if person A having gun or any aggressive cue, then chances will become higher that they will use that particular cue, use that particular weapon, right, to present aggressive behavior. Relatively, right, when individual doesn't having cue. So when individual having cue, when individual having aggression and they are having cue, chances will be higher to present aggressive behavior. When individual doesn't have cue, then chances will be lower. But there are few specific criticism as well when we talk about the criticism of this particular model. So there are three criticism that I would like to mention here, right? Three criticism that I would like to mention. The first is not always direct, not always direct, not always direct, right? Not always direct means aggression might not always be directed at the source of frustration. For example, frustrated at work, if any individual having frustration at work, they will present that particular frustration at home, right? And second point, alternative reactions, alternative reaction, alternative reaction. Alternative reaction means not all frustration lead to aggression. This is the major criticism. This is the major criticism of this particular theory. Not all frustration lead to aggression. Sometimes people might respond with sadness, anxiety, or other non-aggressive behavior. Like our exam, UGC NET got cancelled. In those particular situations, few individuals can present aggressive behavior, but so many individuals having sadness, they are developing anxiety. So due to cancellation of exam, you feel frustration, and that frustration not leading aggressive behavior all the time, that can lead to sadness, that can lead to anxiety, that can lead to other behavior. So this is the last point, right? This is the third criticism. So this is personal trait. The third criticism, right, is personal trait. So whenever any individual presenting aggressive behavior, that is also connected to personality of someone and environmental factors. So whenever any individual presenting aggression after frustration, that is also leading to personal traits. So these are the criticism. Criticism is not always direct. There are alternative emotions that individual presenting, alternative reactions that individual presenting, and the third is personal trait. So hope you understand this particular theory, right? If you are having any doubt, any confusion, let us know. But in brief, I will say the frustration aggression hypothesis help us understand why people sometimes respond aggressively and why individual not presenting aggression, right? That means if individual having anger, they will present aggression. Sometime if they think, I will get punishment, so in those cases they are not going to present aggressive behavior. So this particular theory highlighting why individual presenting aggressiveness, right? And in which situation when they are not going to convert their frustration into aggression. So I am very hopeful, that you understood this particular theory, and if there will be any question in exam, you will be able to handle them. So, but at the end, I would like to say I am very hopeful that government will take a strict action. So in future, this kind of crime, this kind of incident will not happen. No any agency or a person will dare. Government need to take that particular kind of action, that no any agency, no any person will dare to do so. But most important thing is, as a student, you keep hope, you maintain your motivation, and don't leave your dream behind, If you have any dream, just strive for that particular dream. Everything will be fine, So see you in next video. Bye. Take care.